The Strangers, Chapter 2. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button to never miss a video. We have daily content including film reviews, movie news, and so much more. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button to never miss a video. Today we are talking about the new film, The Strangers, Part 2. Now, this is the second installment into the trilogy reboot of The Strangers. Now, I'm going to start off by saying I think that this film is a huge improvement from the first. Even though I did not hate the first film, I know it got a lot of hate, and I feel like the first film had potential to be great. It was just, there was the overall cinematography of the first one, geek out for a second, and just the overall look of the film, it was very crisp, and it made for a great film, but not a great horror film. And Remy Harlin, who is the director of this film, also directed the first film, which... Again, this is a legendary director. He has a pretty good background in horror. Directed films such as Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Masters, which is the fourth film in the series. Also directed films like The Covenant. So again, he has a background in horror and films of that nature. So the fact that he kind of dropped the ball with the first film was a little disappointing for me. And the first one I was actually really looking forward to. I missed the first one in theaters, and by the time I saw it, it came out on Blu-ray, which I'm still kicking myself. I'm still kind of mad about because first one came out on Blu-ray, I saw it at Walmart, picked it up, bought it, and then, not even going to lie, a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks later, it came out on 4K, so I'm not sure why there was a delay between the 4K and the Blu-ray, because before I even bought the film at Walmart, I checked Amazon, and it was not out on 4K, so just a little rant about that. But getting back to the review at hand, now, The Strangers Chapter 2, it's very much, this whole franchise, or the new trilogy, is very much a trilogy. They went out from the beginning, said, okay, this is going to be a trilogy. They set out to make a trilogy. It wasn't just them trying to milk an existing IP by just churning out sequels that aren't necessarily necessary. Now, this one, they kind of pulled a Peter Jackson and shot all three films at once, which is kind of a good thing because the first film did not do great critically. Box office, I don't think was that strong either. But the fact they already made all three films, filmed them back-to-back at one time, cut costs on production, and also made it so all three films were made, and we actually see them all. Even if, the second and third one would have came to a straight-to-video type thing, we at least would have gotten them. Second one, haven't seen anything on the box office yet for it. Critically, it's not strong, but I am looking forward to the third one. I think it comes out in 2026 sometime, so early 2026, mid-2026. Either way, I'm just looking forward to it. The film does end with a to be continued, which isn't really a spoiler because we already know it's going to be a trilogy. Now, some things about this film that I think definitely was a step up from the first one was, again, I guess the cinematography. It is the same cinematographer who worked on the first film, so I don't know where they kind of got their headspace at because they shot all three films at once. So why is it that when the first film they shot like a crisp drama, and this one they actually kind of shot like a horror film? You have the hand cam where it's kind of shaky a little bit, but not obsessively shaky, but enough where you can tell it has unease. They have different kind of shots that really feel like build tension. They use the camera work to actually build emotion rather than have it just kind of have these really crisp looking pans and this really crisp looking center shots that really feel more like a drama, which was my biggest problem with the first one. Is it just really affected the tone, whereas this one you definitely have that more horror feel to it. As far as everything else goes, a lot of people are hating on this franchise, and I don't know why, because I actually really like this film. It even goes and asks the question is, who is Tamara? Why are they doing this? And who are they? Something that doesn't necessarily need to be asked, but again, the fact that they're doing it is a bigger story arc, I would say. Like, the fact they're making this trilogy and they're really kind of diving deeper into the origins of the film and of these characters, in my opinion, kind of makes it more intriguing, and they're giving us not only a backstory, but they're giving us more insight on who they are, and not necessarily we're starting to kind of learn a little bit why they do it, and we're getting a more insight on to the whole origins of the Strangers, which the original two films, Strangers and Strangers Prey at Night, give us no origin at all and don't really grasp on anything. Now, a big thing with that, and again, Strangers, the original 2008 film, and the sequel that came out in like 2018, Prey at Night, they had a very big cult following. Even though the ratings are horrible on IMDb, it had a strong cult following. Like I remember when the first chapter 1 came out, people were talking about how much they loved The Strangers Prey at Night, which honestly, I remember seeing it in theaters, and it was probably one of the worst movies I saw that year. It was just garbage. Best way I can say it. It was the worst horror film I've ever seen, and one of the worst films I've seen that year. It was very much thrown together, and it had no real. It's like I said, it's been a while since I've seen it. I remember seeing it in theaters, never again. It was again one of the worst horror films I've seen, and why people love that movie so much, I really can't see it. Like I can usually pinpoint or understand why a film has a cult following or why people really get behind a film. That one I really can't. I can't see it at all. With these films, yeah, they're trying to say, I understand why people don't like this one as much because it's like, oh, well, there's no reason to need another backstory, and it's all this other stuff. And yes, the original Strangers was based on a true story. Well, it was based on a true story. But when you actually look into it, the story in which The Strangers was based on was the Marilyn Manson family murders. So pretty much like the Sharon Tate murders, which again, it was so loosely based on that because it's saying, oh, there are these people who broke into a house and killed random people. And it was actually based on the Manson family murders, which was so loosely based because it actually has nothing to do with the Manson family murders. It's just saying it's based on that because they broke into a house and killed strangers. Like, it's so loosely based on that. Like, it's not the fact they call it based on true events is by far the biggest pile of BS I've ever seen any movie ever pull out of their ass for being based on a true story. So the fact they're kind of getting away from that now with this new trilogy, and they're actually just telling a cohesive story about these psychotic killers, and then again, the masks are iconic from the original film, and they are going into the origins a little more, which I did like, and I think some people could get turned off by that. And also, the second film, you have Madeline Petit's character and, her evolution into becoming the final girl. Like, she's more than just the final girl. They kind of pull a David Gordon Green, from Halloween, the 2018 version, with Jamie Lee Curtis, the sequel to the original 78 Halloween. And kind of, she's not completely there yet. Like, she's not like a gun-toting, killer trying to hunt Michael Myers or hunt down the strangers. But she's much more, it's much more than just survival. And you have this transition to her kind of becoming a killer, but not necessarily in the sense of like a serial killer. But you see her kind of transition into survival mode and become more than just the final girl on this one, which I think really kind of elevates the story and gives us something new. The way in which they kind of do that is a little... I'm not going to say far-fetched. I'm going to say it's a little far-fetched, but within reason. I mean, how they do that, I would argue, is possible, even though not likely. And I kind of like to see that transition, and you kind of see her evolving and being more than just a scream queen. Like, she's actually kind of evolving a little bit, which I can see why people don't like that. Like me personally, I love David Gordon Green's Halloween. And I love Jamie Lee's, transition into that, like, survivalist and how the events really changed her. So the fact they're kind of taking that similarly in this film, although, again, it's not a direct copy, it's a similar tone. I really like that aspect. So I'm really excited to see what the third one has to hold. And I'm going to give this one a full price because I feel like if you see this film in theaters and you pay full price, you're not going to be disappointed. I honestly was actually considering seeing this again in theaters, more so just because of how horrible my experience was. I went to an AMC again, and I'm telling you, I have to take just a small moment to say that I feel like AMC as a whole, their theaters are just going downhill completely. I had one of the worst theatrical experiences I've ever had in my life. And I've been, like I said, in another video I was saying about this, that I've been going to theaters since I was like 7 or 8 years old. And since I was like 18, I've been going like 2 or 3 times a week, with the exception of COVID. And by far one of the worst experiences I've ever had. And I've been to various AMC's throughout my tri-state area. I've gone to I get a lot of different theaters. Again, travel distances to see different theaters, to see various different films. And by far one of the worst experiences. So that's kind of what doubled down saying that I actually enjoyed seeing this film, despite how horrible my experience was. It didn't hinder my view of the film. It didn't hinder my overall appeal of this film. So the fact that I still enjoyed this film, even as bad as my experience was, I think goes to show that how strong this film is. Because there are some films like Safe House with Denzel Washington and Ryan Reynolds. I'll never forget it. I was really excited to see it. I had a horrible experience. The guy next to me would not stop talking through the entire movie, and it completely ruined the movie. It completely ruined the movie for me. And to this day, that movie came out in 2013. To this day, or maybe 2012. So 13 years later, and I still have not been able to sit down and watch that movie again, just because I have a horrible of a taste that experience left in my mouth. But The Strangers Chapter 2, I'd actually almost went and saw it again in theaters yesterday, just because of how much I enjoyed watching the film and how good I think the film was. So that being said, have you seen The Strangers Chapter 2? Are you going to? What are your thoughts? Comment below. Let me know.